This is Keith All, and welcome back. Today's tutorial is we're going to be talking about the benefits of name ranges in Excel. So over here to the right, we're going to be talking about practical examples with sample data. I'll give you step-by-step instructions for creating each name range, and this utilizes real-world scenarios because as data analysts, we're going to be working with sales data, budgets, product lookups and more. And then at the end, I'll speak about bonus tips for managing name ranges effectively. So over here on the left, we're going to be discussing each benefit. Benefit one is readable formulas. So instead of typing in your range, as you can see here, and then instead, we're going to reference a name range instead. Easy formula updates, dynamic drop-down lists are another benefit. A simplified VLOOKUP by using the name range, and you could utilize this across other lookup formulas like XLOOKUP. And then the last benefit is going to be cross-sheet references. So in other words, instead of trying to reference the sheet name in the range, we're going to be utilizing a name range, which is much easier and simpler. So let's go over to example number one. So readable formulas. So if we want to sum each one of these, I mean, we could do equal sum and select our range and then press enter. Obviously, that's going to sum up to January sales. Another way that you could do it, you could use the shortcut key Alt equal, and then that also sums up the range also. But let's say that we want to reference, January total January sales or February sales from somewhere else within the workbook or within the same sheet, and we don't want to go through the hassle of selecting the range. So in other words, we could create a name range for each one of these. So what we could do is highlight the range. This is going to be the total for January sales. Let's go up to the name box, upper left, type in Jan sales. Okay. We could do the same thing for February. Let's highlight that, name it February sales. And then we could do the same thing for March sales. Let's highlight the range. Okay, March sales. Okay, now all we have to do is equal sum, and then January, as you can see, it pops up in the IntelliSense, January sales. It's going to reference that range that we highlighted. Let's close out the sum and press enter, and it sums it for us. And we could do the same thing for our other name ranges. Sum, February sales. Okay, I just forgot our parens, a closing parens. Let's do the same thing for March sales. March sales, see it pops up. Let's close that out, press enter. So that's one way that you can effectively use a name range. Let's go to another way is easy formula updates. So in other words, you have like a product table. And in this case, we're going to have unit price and quantity. And again, as you can see, once we go to the last benefit of cross-sheet referencing, you'll see how this would benefit. So let's call this range. We're just going to select it, and it's going to be widget A price. Type that again. Widget A price. select the quantity, and we're going to go up to the name box. We're going to call it widget a quantity. Okay. Now, all we have to do is we want to multiply this out to get the total sales. So equal, and type in widget a price times widget a quantity, press enter, and it multiplies that out. And then you would have to specifically create name ranges for the next product name, and so on and so forth. So that's how another way that you can, because it's an easy formula update. So in other words, if you wanted to calculate this widget a total sales on a different sheet or something, you didn't want to do a cell referencing. All you have to do is remember your named range and then create the formula that way. So in other words, and the other benefit is, okay, you want to create the unit price table, and all you have to do is go over to your table itself and update the prices, and then all your other formulas will automatically update too. So that's one way. Third way is dynamic dropdown. Well, let's create a list, okay, for this, and then as you update this list here, okay, your drop-down list will also change in terms of value. Okay, so step one is to name your list. We're going to go up here, department list. Okay, now let's create a drop-down list. Shortcut key is Alt. A is an apple, V is in Victor, B is in Victor. And then we're going to reference a list. And then all we have to do is equal department list. Click OK. And see it references all these values. So if I happen to change the value here, I'm just typing in random letters here, press enter. If we go over back here, you could see that the value has changed. So it makes your drop-down list dynamic using name ranges. Of course, there's other ways you could do this. You could create this into a valid Excel table, and it will work similarly the same way. So the next one is simplified lookups. Today, I'm just going to show you VLOOKUP, how this would work itself. I already created a drop-down list of the unique products up here, and we're going to do a VLOOKUP by creating the name range of our product table. So I'm going to go up here, product table, press enter. Now let's do the VLOOKUP. So equal VLOOKUP. What's our lookup value? It's in this cell. We want to look up the product code and pull back our product name and price. So our array, so in other words, instead of come over here and highlighting your range, we already highlighted it, created a name range, product table. It pops up in a list. Okay, it selects the range, as you can see. Column index here. Well, what value do we want to return for this lookup value in this range here? The value we want to return is our product name. So that's the second column in our range. We want an exact match. Okay, so for product P004, the product name is monitor. We're going to do the same thing for price. Equal the lookup. Our lookup values here. Oops. let's close out of that. I tab too early. I'm going to press a comma here. Product table. Okay, our column index, we want to return the price, so that's going to be column 3 in our product table range. Comma false for exact match. Press enter. So as you can see, the price for product of 4 is $3.50. If we come up here and select a different product, these will automatically change also. So product 3, the name is keyboard, and the price is $75. So it remembers the cell references. So our last example is cross-sheet referencing. So what we want to do is sometimes in our day-to-day operations, we want to reference certain values on a different sheet, and name ranges can help with this. So our first case is, let's go over, control page up to get over to actual budget tables. What we want to do is I want to name this range. So I want to call this actual, okay? And then our budget table, I want to create this as, Control Z, I'm going to call this budget. B-U-D-G-T. Okay, now we've got the named range for our budget amounts and our actual amounts. So let's go back over here, cross sheet referencing. So what I want to do is I want to get the difference between our budget spending and our actual spending. So let's press equal budget minus actual. And if you have Excel 365, it's automatically going to do the array subtraction for us, and it creates the difference between the two. So let's go back over to, for example, rent for both of them and see why it returned to 0. Remember, we did a budget minus actual. So let's go over here. Control page up. Our control page out. So our budget minus our actual for rent. So both numbers were 2,000. So 2,000 minus 2,000 is actually 0. So that's how we did that. Now let's go over another way that we could do it. We want to sum the total for budget, the total amounts for budget, and a total amount for actual. We could do that from this sheet. Sum budget, and it sums up the total for all these categories for budget, and we're going to do the same thing for actual. So sum actual and we got that. So let's go back to these tables, these sheets, and let's double check to see if it's coming up to 3,500, 3,530. So let's go to the page up. So budget or actual was 3,530. So if we select this range, come over here to the bottom right, and we get a sum of 3,530. So if we do the same thing for budget, we highlighted that range and it sums up the amount. Bottom right, sum of 3,500. So those are just 5 different ways that we could use name ranges. So let's go over to the bonus tips. So we could view all our named ranges by just simply going up to the formulas tab, formulas, and then go over to our name manager. And it gives us all of our named ranges in our sheet, our workbook. So a shortcut key to get that is Control F3, and it brings up the name manager also. Okay. And again, if we go back to our name manager, we could also delete it. So if anything is unused, go here and delete your name ranges. That's a one way to do it. Use descriptive names. So you have to avoid spaces in your names, and you can use underscores. And by default, name ranges are workbook wide by default. So if we go over to the name manager, Control F3, and let's say we're going to create a new one. Here is where you could define whether the name range is going to be effective for the entire workbook, or if it's going to be effective for a specific sheet. So that's way that you could also do it all. Also, so hopefully this tutorial gave you an example of how you could use name ranges in your day-to-day activities working with Excel. Hopefully you got some benefit from it. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and as always, like and share this video, because this helps this video get out to more people. Again, thank you for spending your time today, and I'll see you on the next video.